Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NR podcast. We have today with us Callie Vinson, ultra runner. Thank you so much for joining us, Callie. We are excited to dive into all things sports nutrition and ultra running with you today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here and talk about all of it.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us a little bit about what got you excited, got you into running. When did this all start? Give us a little background.
Yeah, so I would say it started with me absolutely hating running. I mean, even growing up as a kid, I was always into sports. I played soccer, but I was the goalie because it required the least amount of running. And then I got into rowing because you're in a boat, so you don't have to run very much. So I always loved sports, and I always liked team sports and individual sports, but I didn't get into running until later in life because after high school and being on teams there, I transitioned to college where I went to an art school and just completely stopped anything active and picked up every bad habit you could possibly imagine. I got into a really unhealthy lifestyle and just, wasn't moving, eating everything, just kind of like down on myself while I was in art school, and also like finding myself, while you're in college, and got an internship in Chicago, and I was super excited. You're going to the big city. I went to college in Savannah, Georgia, so a big leap there. And I was, I had all these dreams and ambitions of all these things I want to do as like a city girl on the move, going out all the time. And it was a day I always talk about when a friend of mine asked me to go to brunch, and it got to the point where I looked it up and I realized I can't even walk there, and my friend wanted us to like walk to brunch, and it was a mile. I couldn't do that. So that was the red flag that made me change all my ways, and I picked up just a new diet slowly, very slowly. A lot of learnings there, and got a gym membership and didn't know what that was going to be like, but I knew that's what the people did, so I did it. And then it was months later when I was like, okay, if I conquered this new diet, I conquered the working out. I've always hated running. If I can just conquer this one thing, this very simple thing, I feel like then I can do anything. And so running became this mission for me, almost, to just try it, to just try and find a way to love it, to enjoy it. It seemed like everyone loved running who was a runner, and I wanted to be that person. And so eventually I loved it. I found a love for it, and, am nowadays paying a lot of money to run very far. So it's funny how it's on 180 from back in my college days to where I am now, where I couldn't walk a mile, and now signing up for 200 milers.
Amazing. And so kind of finding that passion for running and taking those like baby steps to get into it. What did that look like? Was it like a run walk?
Yeah.
For a period of time, or slowly progressing duration? How was that?
So I wish it was a run walk, because that would have been the smart thing to do, especially with where I was in my health journey. Over maybe it was like a year and a half, I lost 200 pounds. So
wow.
At my heaviest, I was 377, and being at that weight, just going all in on running, I injured myself very quickly.
Shoot.
I had no one in my friend group was a runner or an athlete, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to. I was terrified to run even in the daylight, so I always ran in early morning or late at night. So I definitely wasn't in a running group to talk to people. I just kind of figured it out as I went, I guess, doing some research online and whatnot. But the journey started with just trying to run around my block, because I lived in Chicago. I mean, we're on a grid system, and I was like, if I could just run around my street, just this, it maybe have been like a half mile around. Then I feel like, okay, then I'll double it and keep going farther, or try and go faster eventually. And I mean, it was just one learning lesson after another with running, from like the shoes I needed to wear to socks, like the material of socks. I was cotton forever until I realized that was a terrible idea. But I mean, I was the type who just kind of like jumped in and figured it out, versus like figuring it out on my own and then trying it. I was just like trial and error in all aspects, I guess. But 1 mile led to 2 miles, led to 4, led to 5. And then one day I just kind of set out to do a half marathon by myself, just like 13 miles around Chicago. And then a little bit after that, maybe a month or so ago, there was a paper called the Red Eye in Chicago. And the front cover was talking about the Chicago Marathon that was happening that weekend. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could never run a marathon. And then I think my immediate next thought was I have to run a marathon. So
amazing. Wow.
I don't know
You just,
why,
yeah.
but
Like constantly proving herself.
Yeah.
I don't know what I had to prove to myself, but I was
Yeah.
after it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, with the running, did you ever experience like the like quote unquote runner's high, like, or was it more of like that post, like, okay, yes, I did that, or?
Yeah, I think 100% when you're, running around Chicago and you're finally feeling this confidence in yourself that I'd never, ever, ever felt before. And then you're running along the skyline of Chicago and sunrise is coming up and all these runners are out there too, because they're doing their training miles. I was absolutely riding a runner's high. And
Awesome.
I think that feeling then and after the run, like, oh my gosh, I just did this thing. I just ran 4 miles. I just ran 9 miles. It became this thing that I just kept wanting to chase, and I kept wanting to see what was around the next corner. Is it, the 13 miles, the 20, the 26.2. And so it's just been this constant curiosity, I guess, that has driven me to where I am now to see how far that limit can go. And
Yeah.
I think I'm still pushing it.
Yeah. I'll say. So through that journey, when did you start to realize, like regarding like sports nutrition and hydration, when did the light bulb click, like, hey, I should probably bring some water with me, or hey, maybe I should fuel during this?
Probably way too late.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. I remember, I guess it was my first ultra marathon for my 29th birthday. I was like, I'm going to run 29 miles around Chicago to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And I had on, I know my exact outfit. I had a pair of like cotton, like capri pants. I did have on some Nike Pegasus. So check, I did that right. Definitely cotton socks. I had a cotton hoodie that was ripped. And then I had my like Puma, fanny pack, around the crossbody way.
Yeah.
And a snack or fuel, I had a bag of like dried oats with some nuts in it. And then I think I might have had a water bottle.
Wow. So like
And
not
that was
even
my-
granola, it was like muesli style almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And that was what I had. And I think I stopped at a gas station once to like go to the bathroom and get like another water bottle or something. But I remember getting back to my apartment just completely depleted, having no idea what my body had just gone through. But I loved every minute of it because one, you got to tour almost all of Chicago twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gave me a whole new perspective on like how to explore that city that I was in. And it just became that next limit that now I've got to try and find the next one. So
It is amazing where running can take you. Like
Oh,
just yeah.
I say that all the time. Like there's places that you can only get to because of your body getting there.
Yeah.
A car can't get there. A bike can't get there. And so when you are in those places, it's just like, oh my gosh, me, my feet, my body, my lungs, we got to this place.
Yeah.
Only a number of people have gotten to see this view. And it's
amazing.
I love those little moments.
That's so cool. So kind of the journey through the sports nutrition evolution, going from like homemade muesli packet
Yeah.
and gas station water bottles. Did you like, how far into your journey, like whether it's mileage wise, year wise, do you think you kind of started developing more of like a system that seemed to work for you?
I would say probably I probably only like a year and a half or 2 years ago did I find a system that now works for me. And sometimes I feel like my stomach is so sensitive these days,
Right.
but when I first started out, it was water and little snacks like that. And then I forgot which year it was, maybe 2018 or so. I joined kind of a running group in Chicago called 3 Run 2. And just from listening to conversations, you kind of pick up on what other runners are doing. Like, oh, they're using Scratch, or they're using Goo, or they're using Martin because that's going to be at the Chicago Marathon Expo. And I just learned about a lot of brands from listening to their conversations. And, after going to expos like the Chicago Marathon Expo and all the ones that would be in that town, I started to learn about like how many carbs you should be having per hour, or how much hydration you actually need, because your body actually loses this much every hour or so, and sodium replenishment and all. I knew that information, it all kind of existed in my head, but it hadn't clicked yet until maybe I got into like the 100-mile distance, where it becomes like, oh no, that's a real thing that you need to learn.
Yeah.
But I felt like I don't know why, but I felt like for the marathon, I felt like I could just like get through it on whatever I was doing, and then just like
Willpower.
just suffer it later. But yeah, it's still something that I'm just trying to figure out, because, and right now I'm using goo products, they're because I've always had I guess GI issues and running, and I haven't been able to find out what that balance is. And that could also be just from years of
I see the pup in the background.
Yeah, so he's cute. 14, so he's trying to do his little turn.
Oh, adorable.
It takes him a while. Okay. I've experimented with pretty much everything. I've been on a paleo diet. I've done keto, all of it in my weight loss journey. And so that kind of just equated to me trying to eat or fuel on the most simple ingredients as possible, because I felt like that's always done well for me. So for hydration, it would be something like, I don't know, water with some salt and some kind of flavoring in there. And then food would be like potatoes or pickles or fruit or something along those lines. I don't know why, but things that just have like a laundry list of ingredients always terrified me after my weight loss journey. Before it would have been like game on, but after I don't know, I went simple is better. But yeah, I guess that's something that I'm just still figuring out today. And I'm still trying to figure it out because, one, I've had issues in the past, and two, I have a huge, big, scary goal coming up in June. And I'm like, I need to figure it out for real.
Yeah.
And I say that for every race, but for this one, I feel like I really need to figure it out. But I have done really well recently with Roctane and fueling on liquid calories alone versus any kind of solid food.
Nice. Yeah. Do you make your own liquid calories, or do you do like a super fuel, or?
Yeah, I do their goo Roctane as a super fuel. So for every serving, it's 250 calories. So I'll put that in a bottle and just drink that the whole time. Sometimes I'll have their chews, but mostly Roctane.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a convenience factor too of the liquid calories. I mean, ultra running and for cyclists, I see it pretty popular as well. Just got to get the nutrition in your body, and opening like a honey stinger waffle packet and choking is like, can be problematic.
Trying to get 250 to 300 calories in an hour is work. That is homework while you're running and racing.
Exactly.
Having the least amount of homework during running is best.
100%. So you said you try and hit 250 calories, you said an hour? Is that
that's what I'm aiming at these days. And it's still something that I'm kind of noodling on, especially now with the heat really rising here in Arizona. So also just figuring out like what's the right salt replenishment too for those hot days. And I feel like it's always something that you can just keep working on, because one, there's always new products, and two, like your body changes, and also the time of year, it affects
100%.
So many factors.
Yes.
It's fun to play with.
Yeah. I mean, and the research too keeps like changing or evolving on the, fluid tolerance, sodium requirements, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, what's the upcoming event in June?
So I'm doing the Western States 100.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. I did have a client do that. I think it was last year, and his goal was just to finish, but I remember building out the fueling plan, and it was like 24 hours of nutrition programming, which is a lot to think about. He also had a very high sweat loss rate. So it was like, we were trying to manage dehydration, but, I mean, for something like that, that's coming up. June is very close. What does your training look like right now? Are you starting to get into any sort of taper yet, or?
No, not yet. We still have a couple of big weeks ahead. Western States offers a training camp weekend.
Nice.
So you can run on the course. It's over Memorial Day weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You do about 20 to 25-ish miles a day. And that'll be great because one, I haven't run on the course yet. I was at the race last year because my boyfriend Scott, he ran it.
Nice.
And so I got a really good taste of the race last year, being there from beginning to finish. But the training camp will be great because I get to see the course and also test the nutrition and the gear that I plan to use for that. But yeah, I've got a couple big weeks, that one being the biggest one coming up. And so right now we're really just honing in on the exact, clothes I'm going to wear, what I'm going to put in my pack, the ice bandana, is that going to work better, or the sleeves, or ice in the hat. So there's all these little pieces of the puzzle that you've got to just fine tune to, alleviate any troubleshooting that you have to do during the race. And that's kind of what we're working on weekends nowadays. But and one of them being hydration and nutrition, just because I have a very sensitive stomach.
You got to train the gut.
Yeah, what I learned very quickly, because what was that, 2021, I attempted the Cocodona 250 and had to pull out because of stomach related issues. I couldn't keep anything down. I had absolutely nothing in my stomach, and it just wasn't getting to a safe place. And then the same thing happened at the Moab 240 a few months later, but I just was like, you know what, we're just gonna deal with this. And I probably had a tortilla in my stomach like the whole time.
Oh my goodness. And you finished?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Nothing was in. It was not pretty.
Shoot. Yeah, that is rough. Do you ever do like, I've heard some athletes will do like Tums to help like settle the stomach?
I haven't taken Tums, or what's the other thing that people take? Not
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The pink stuff, the pink liquid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pepto.
Yeah, I haven't done anything like that. I think with like a race like Western States and being so hot and something like that taste in my mouth, it would probably do more harm than good.
I think I've heard some of my athletes say like they'll drink Pepto like that morning, but I don't know if they're doing it during the race. Maybe they are. I'm trying to remember.
Ultra run, they'll do anything to get to the finish line.
Talking about the gear situation and kind of circling back to like, okay, we know maybe what things have worked in practice from a nutrition or hydration perspective, that maybe we don't get sick of the flavor, or we know how to mix things up, but then how do we actually transport and or get those things in our body? How do you do the vest, backpack, like what's your go-to gear setup?
So currently I use the Ultimate Direction vest because they gave it to me and I love it so much.
Nice.
I love the Ultra 6-liter. It's one of the newer ones that came out and I love it. For Moab, I use the Solomon 12-liter because you just have to carry so much stuff with you, like the mandatory gear that you have to carry. Plus, in some sections, I needed 4 liters of water. So my pack was around 9 pounds for the whole race. So my shoulders hurt a little bit after. But thankfully at Western States, aid stations are at max 10 miles apart, which is in the beginning. And then after that, it's like 6, 7 or so. So right now I'm liking a bladder in the back and no bottles in the front. The bottles in the front just swing my body and it drives me insane. But in the back, I feel like I have a pretty strong back that can just do well for me in the race. But so I'm going to do the Roctane in the back and a bladder with a 2-liter, and then maybe have a handheld in some hotter sections. There are some the race is just notably hot, as you probably know, because you had an athlete. And so I'll, do a handheld through that. But other than that, I'm probably going to have some like shoes for just in case. And then in the night sections, a headlamp and maybe like a Patagonia Houdini jacket or something, but as light as possible, which is I feel like it's going to be so nice after
Yes.
the Moab race, carrying all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you do any polls, like trekking poles or anything like that?
Mm-mm. So I did for Moab and I did for Cocodona, but you're actually not allowed to have poles at Western States.
Oh,
Otherwise I
interesting. Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people I'm like a newborn giraffe on trails. I'm so clumsy. I'm tall too. I'm like 5'10", and
Nice.
if
Yeah.
there's a rock, my feet will find it and I'll trip and I'll fall and be dead. So having poles to go down rocks makes it so
Yeah.
much easier.
Yes. How
I'm
many?
literally thinking of a baby giraffe right now.
Yeah.
I know, trying to get down a trail, it's not pretty.
How many sprained
would
ankles
be
have you had from trail running?
Entirely too many, and my
Yeah.
knees are busted. I mean, I've only been trail running for a little over 2 years, ever since I
Wow.
moved to Arizona, because
Yeah.
I think Chicago, they do have trails, but the ones that I went to right outside the city just weren't trails like Arizona.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, I would love to have poles, but no poles for this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the gear setup is always helpful. Goodness, like there's so many little like tricks. Like I mean, so many athletes have told me like in marathons, like I cannot not walk through the water station, like because I just can't get the water into my body.
Right,
like,
right.
You know,
There's no way.
Yeah. Little like tricks of like how people, whether they pinch the cup or like take a like glug, but not swallow, but breathe through your nose. And then like all these little tricks and things.
So funny.
Yeah. Helpful.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I keep it pretty simple with the bladder in the back with Roctane. I have the straw that comes out that attaches on my left side, and that's pretty easy. And then just choose in the front. And I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my phone, because there are so many water crossings in this race. And I'm not sure what those are going to be like with all the snow that they've had. And that's going to be melting. So I don't know how high the water crossings are, but I'm definitely going to be submerged. That's sure.
Hopefully that'll help cool you, because it'll be like snow melt water. So goodness.
I feel good.
Might even be able to grab a chunk of snow and put it in your head bandana or headband.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So talking about kind of like the lead up to an event like that, training wise, you said you still have some scenarios to practice. Do you, in the terms of just the few days leading up to the event, are you changing diet meals at all? Are you intentionally trying to do any like intentional carb loading or any of that kind of stuff?
Not really. And I might be one of the few who doesn't have a huge breakfast before a race either. When there's a lot in my stomach, it just doesn't go well. So I just try and eat more frequently, I guess, leading up to a race. And probably the same amount of meals, or same amount of food, focusing definitely on carbs and very low on fiber. I swear a little bit of fiber gets in my stomach.
Yeah.
Angry.
Yes.
But yeah, I keep it pretty simple. I like rice, potatoes. Protein is like a beef or chicken or fish. I love seafood. Maybe that's because I'm from Florida, but yeah. And then veggies would be like spinach.
Nice. Yeah. That's simple. I mean, I run into many athletes where they kind of like traveling to races, where, goodness, I've heard so many people which will try and do like the Ben's microwavable ready rice, depending on what they have available to them.
I've done that before.
Yeah. But yeah, it can get tricky too when you're traveling, but the rice and potatoes is always a good staple for athletes. And I think you brought up a really great point too, is like keeping that fiber low the days before to minimize that bulk in the intestines is definitely helpful to
exactly. And if anyone loves oatmeal and they like to have it on their races, or if they're traveling, I found that baby oatmeal works just fine, because you can mix cold water in there. You don't have to have hot water. So that was something I packed for the 200s, because I love oatmeal and it's just so easy on my stomach. And also instant mashed potatoes too. Like you can just mix liquids in there. Broth is wonderful if an aid station has it, but baby oatmeal has been my jam.
That's great. So when you say baby oatmeal, is this like in the baby food aisle? Okay.
You're taking it from babies. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I have not heard of that one. That's a good tip. I'm going to check the baby food aisle next time I'm in the grocery store. I know a lot of like the pureed baby food packets can be like obviously great nutrient dense, like travel nutrition things.
Do that with the sweet potato one that they have. It's so easy and so simple.
Yeah, that's awesome. Baby oatmeal. I'm checking that out. And then what is your, like right now, post-training nutrition look like? Are you like one of the people who doesn't have a huge appetite post-exercise or post-racing? What is that like for you?
That can depend on the day. Like if it was a tough run, the appetite will not be there. But I would say probably most of the time I am, pretty normal appetite afterwards. And if I'm not, I always make sure that I have some sort of like recovery drink after. So when we go to this mountain that's like an hour away for our training on the weekends, we'll bring this like little cooler bag of all of our like drinks and after run foods. And we always make sure that we have our, he brings Scratch has a horchata recovery mix that is delicious.
Yes.
And then I'll bring the goo. They have one that's a recovery drink that is either vanilla or chocolate. So it's got carbs, protein.
Nice.
Everything that you need for afterwards. So then we'll chug that and then have that on the way home. And then he loves Chipotle, and then I'll get Chipotle too.
Yeah, it's a good Chipotle, kind of covers all the bases usually. I mean,
It
you get
does.
the proteins, and
it's
carbs.
so easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And salt, you can get all the things. I think that's important to point out too, because again, a lot of our listeners or athletes just like have no appetite post an event, and they notice it, but not till the days following, where they're like, man, this like recovery process is taking a lot longer than I remember. And it's usually like not getting nutrition in fast enough for a lot of them. So if liquids can go down.
Yeah, exactly. I would say like a liquid recovery drink has been a lifesaver, because that's easy to get down. It's obviously, of course, tastes like a dessert. So it helps when you don't have anything in your stomach. And then that kind of does the job of just getting you to the point when you are hungry. And then that's when you can have like a real meal that meets all the nutrients and macro check boxes. I experienced the weirdest thing after the Moab 240, because my stomach was just so wrecked from that race. I didn't have an appetite at all for probably a week. Like, nothing sounded good.
Oh man.
The sushi, nothing. And I was, just to the point of just kind of like forcing down the macros that I need. And then eventually I was hungry and then ravenous. So then I went out and treated, but it was just the weirdest thing. I'd never experienced something like that before.
Yeah. Did you have to use any water or like filter your own water on that situation? No. Okay. Yeah. I have heard unfortunate situations where one of them was like an Ironman situation where they were letting athletes use water from the area that like they found out wasn't treated. And then like, goodness, like 90% of the participants ended up having like a viral GI bug or something like that, because the water quality, not good, scary stuff.
Nightmare.
Yeah. So a lot of DNFs like immediately that day. And then for the goodness days following, I think a lot of people were experiencing some issues. But with the long distance stuff, I mean, some of the situations you would filter some of your own water, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know for Cocodona. So when I did Cocodona, they were on a different course, but this past year, there were plenty of places where you could filter your own water. And I even, brought that when I did the rim to rim to rim, because the rivers, there's just so much water down there.
Yeah.
And you never know. That was also during November. So the north rim was closed. So there was no water up there. So you kind of just needed it. But I still haven't used that water filtration system yet, because there was actually plenty of water down there at Phantom Ranch. But I know that is something that's great to have and great to pack, especially for these ultra distances where you're out in the wilderness and you don't know, maybe an aid station runs out of water. It's just, that's one thing that you just absolutely do not want to run out of in a race like that. Cause once you get to a point of such dehydration, it's like impossible to come back.
Yeah. What is the device you use for water filtration or carry with you?
Sawyer. It's the Sawyer product. So it's like a little tube thing that you attach to a bottle, and they have a pouch that you can kind of
you like pour it into the water bottle and then pour it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know which one. Listeners are gonna have to watch the YouTube video for our like
very lightweight. So it's very useful and very convenient.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so tell us a little bit, I know we were talking about kind of an outline of questions for you leading up to this. And one of the questions that was coming up between Lexi and Amanda was like durations and being able to sleep like during a race, or how often are some of these aid stations, or how far are you going in between stretches from some of these aid stations? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's funny because like 100-mile and a 200-mile, it sounds just really long, but those are such different beasts when it comes to sleep. For a 100-miler, I can get through that without sleep, no problem. I don't need a nap or anything. And most people don't. Sometimes you'll take like a little trail nap off to the side, but for a 200, you have to sleep. And so just being able to fall asleep quickly, or have a system of like when you're going to take a nap at this aid station, because also some aid stations aren't sleep stations, some stations are. So you kind of have to factor that into of like where I could sleep, maybe like where in the day might that be. So there are a lot of little logistical puzzles that you have to figure out for these kind of races. But I've found that it's the 200-milers where the sleep strategy is probably the most important, just because you can't go the 200 miles without it. But
the course directors like make you sleep?
They don't make you sleep. If you wanted to do it, and you could, I haven't heard of anyone getting less than, which is also, it's very minimal amount of sleep, but 45 minutes total. I know one runner did a 200, but he finished in like 2.5 days. So that was a lot faster than me finishing Moab in four days.
So in 2.5 days, he only got 45 minutes of sleep.
45 minutes of sleep.
Oh my goodness. Kudos. That person should like be in the military or something.
I know. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, when you start to lose that much sleep, obviously people would say they hallucinate, or just see things, or forget things. You know, when you're coming into an aid station, you're leaving it, you are, you know, because you're so sleep deprived, you forget that you need a headlamp or your hydration or something like that. So also another good reason to have crew for those kind of events. But yeah, for the 200s also, I would say aid stations are around like 15 to 20 miles apart. So it's a lot longer distance. 20 miles can be 8 hours. And in 100, I would say aid stations are probably more around like 6 to 10, maybe 12 miles apart. So a shorter distance, short amount of time. So another reason why you don't have to carry so much stuff, because you're going to get to an aid station where either your crew or drop bag is going to be. But for the 200s, like you're almost preparing for half a day, or to go through the whole night until you see someone else. And at Moab, I didn't see my crew until, was that 70-ish miles in? So it was the next morning.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It was fine. But yeah, that's another just little logistical thing that you have to prepare for, is being able to be in the wilderness alone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, with races like that, do you find that you're pretty frequently like close to another runner to some extent, or do you guys get pretty spread out?
There were some times in the 200 when I was pretty far from somebody else, but not terribly far, like not to the point where I was like, if I scream, no one would hear me, but maybe like a mile or so would be the max. Otherwise, you know, at night it'd be nice because you'd see a headlamp like way down there and just be like, okay, there's somebody there.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But yeah,
wow.
I never felt too alone in the 200 or in a 100.
Wow. And crew can pass off different nutrition, hydration to you. Okay.
Yeah. When you get to an aid station, and if your crew's going to be there, you can plan, okay, I need extra fat and carbs because I'm going to be doing a big like descent section, or a lot of climbing in this section, or it's the daytime, so I need to switch to my cooling sleeves or whatnot. So another just like little logistical puzzle to it. I found that Excel sheets work really well to organize this stuff.
Yes, that is important. I've had handfuls of athletes where they are like numbering their nutrition products, like trying to like coordinate with other people and handing it off. And just like spreadsheets. That's a good way to go.
It's funny because you can be so detailed about these things, but I think another just really important part is to be adaptive, because you have to be able to troubleshoot, because just prepare for everything to go wrong and you're going to do a lot better.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
prepare mentally and in your, Excel sheet.
Goodness. Do you, talking about mental preparation,
Yeah. Prepare for everything to go wrong.
any suggestions, or do you have resources like books or podcasts, anything like that you learned from, or is it more just self-experience?
A lot of it is self-experience, and just because of what I do for work, I'm a copywriter for an ad agency. So I'm a writer, and I consider
Cool.
myself a professional eavesdropper, because I'm always just listening to the way people talk or the way people communicate. Because when you have to write an ad or write a script, you have to talk to that audience. So the two accounts I work on are the Starbucks and the Gerber accounts. So it might be the same audience, might totally not be, but so I eavesdrop on people, because I'm just like, oh, they said this like this, or, I'll read people's like social posts, because I just want to see like, what's the way that people are phrasing it nowadays. So I eavesdrop in ultras, and I'm listening to what people are saying and their strategies and whatnot. So I would say, yeah, most of that has just been like self-learning, but also a couple books that I've picked up. The Relentless Forward Progress, I feel like that's like the book for getting into ultra running. Also Jason Koop's book.
Yeah.
He has like the dictionary on ultra running and everything that you could possibly want to know, down to a science. So that's always a nice resource. We have it here and we always reference it. So
that's awesome.
Those books are like, those are the ones.
Awesome. Well, we'll link those in the show notes too for the listeners, because those are both great books. And then do you want to give us a little bit of background? Obviously we're talking about mileage here, but what about elevation gain? Maybe we mentioned it's going to be hot in some of these situations. How hot, how cold, like high desert, might get really cold at night. Give us some of those stats or what you've experienced.
Yes. For Western States coming up, or any race, or
any of the ones you've done in the past. I mean, what was Moab's elevation gain? Do you recall?
I feel like it wasn't too crazy. However, there were 2 days that nearly broke me because of the climbing that they inhaled. For Moab, I think the total was, I'm going to get this so wrong, it's probably like 28,000, maybe 32.
Okay.
Around there for all 240 miles. And then for the Western States 100, that is going to be 17,000 up and like 23.
Oh, wow.
23,000. I'm looking at him. 23,000 down. So it's a net downhill course, which is, that's nice. But no, there's still 17,000 up. But I would say that Western States is going to be absolutely my most mountainous course to date, because up until then, my, most elevation gain I've done in 100 was probably like 7,000 feet, maybe 6,000. So they've been relatively flat, because I can't come from a road running background of running flat and fast on the Chicago Marathon course. And so this training cycle specifically has just been all about climbing, all about descending. That's why we go to this one route called Mount Ord. It's just this 6.5 mile road, Forest Service road up to the summit, and then 6.5 miles down. And for the 6.5 up, it's like 2,500, 2,600 feet of climbing. So it's just the whole time, like 7-8% grade. It's perfect. And there's not a lot of rocks to trip over. So my giraffe legs like it. But so this will be the most mountainous, but I mean, it's crazy, some of these races, with the amount of elevation gain that you do, and at the elevation that you're at too. For Moab, I think we got to 11,000 feet, and that was a lot. That was towards the end of the race too, on one of the days that almost broke me.
My goodness.
Because you're going up into was that the San Juan Mountains? No, I forgot. But it was like the climbing was about 4,500 feet, and you're going whatever that was at the bottom up to 11,000. And when that's day 3, I mean, you're already just very tired and whatnot. But otherwise, I would say the course is pretty flat, other than those 2 climbs we had to do in Moab. But last year we got to help a friend at the Hard Rock 100, and oh my gosh, that's elevation and climbing. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. Shoot. What is the max elevation you get to in Western states? Do you know?
12? Is it 12,000 at Western?
Wow.
11? No, maybe it's around like 9 or 10. Just kidding.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
I
not
was
too
gonna say,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, I bet you'll see snow up there. Plenty of it.
Yeah, so that's been a point of interest because of how much snow there's been around Lake Tahoe. I mean, I feel like it was just unprecedented the amount that they got this year,
Yeah.
and it's still up there. It's still up there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the race is in 6 weeks or so, 6 or 7. So there might be a snow reroute. We're not sure yet. We're kind of waiting for updates, but if there is, it'll be definitely an interesting course because you might be in snow. We'll probably definitely be in snow, and then down into a canyon where I think like record high, it's been like 108, 107 or so. Last year was pretty hot. It was like 98 or 97. So you
Let's
get a
see.
little bit of the extremes.
Goodness. Yeah, they might have to have you get those little like snowshoe, I forget what they're called, where you slip them on like the outside of your running shoe.
Like the
Spikes.
Yeah.
the spikes that you just wrap around your shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
That
goodness.
would be funny.
Yeah. Just ripping through. That's incredible. Okay. Well, I want to be mindful of timing here too. Let's see. So anything, and we know you have the Western states coming up, but anything going on in your world that you want to promote, talk about, share?
I don't have anything like me
Outside of
brand wise, but I am excited because the Western States 100 I got in because I'm running with the Rising Hearts Foundation, which is to raise indigenous voices and missions, and they're just an incredible organization run by another ultra runner or runner. Is she an ultra runner? She's a runner, and I'm excited to do that to just help raise awareness for such an amazing thing. And then also it's being sponsored by GOO Energy Lab. So I'm excited that we're all kind of working together, and we're filming a documentary to tell the story of just like me as a runner and, all of the missions that are going on along with it. So that'll be exciting. But
that is amazing. And say the name of the foundation again, and we can link it to
Rising Hearts.
Rising Hearts. Okay. Well, we'll link that for the listeners too. They want to check that out. And then where can people find and follow you? And where's this documentary going to be posted? Do we know yet?
I think it'll be primarily like on YouTube or on Rising Hearts page. Other than that, I'll absolutely post it. And there's they filmed a runner last year, and that film is currently being circulated in like a film fest, so trail fest. So I'm sure this one will be doing the circuit as well.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, I'll definitely spread the word once we know more.
Yeah. Let us know. And then can people follow you on Instagram or?
Yes. Yeah. Instagram, my handle is Callie Vinson with 2 N's at the end.
Perfect. Do you have your own YouTube channel as well, or?
Not yet, but it's something I'm like noodling on because I know that's the next avenue, and it would be so fun. I've just had entirely too much fun creating videos recently, and I just want to get into more longer form styles. There are just endless questions that people ask that I would love to answer. And I'm like, I need to find another format. And I think YouTube is definitely it.
I love it. Well, we'll definitely link to the Instagram and the Rising Hearts. And then for the listeners, follow along for Western States. What's the date for Western States for our listeners?
June 24th.
June 24th. All right. Well, if you guys want to follow along, with that kind of stuff, people can follow you, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll have a track. It's not the kind where you can follow like every step. It's every checkpoint,
checkpoint. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Callie. You've been a wealth of information. We appreciate you joining us today and sharing your journey and upcoming events. This is exciting.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.